Ladies and gentlemen, how are we? Episode 35. Welcome back to the beach. With me, Blade 5 in the background. That's me practice board. Episode 35. You can see it down here, 35. Some James Wade brilliance, some MVG dominance, DPA on the way. The women's series events are coming up as well. We're a third of the way through the year, and it feels like there's more and more darts happening and coming at us as the days just roll on by. So it's just fantastic to be into the darts at the moment. There's so much happening, like the mundaneness of AFL and NRL football, where it's Friday to Monday or Friday to Sunday, and then that's it. Then you got to wait a whole week. The darts is on all the bloody time. It feels like it's fantastic. Throw in the online live darts league, online league darts live, whatever it's called. Can't remember. That's fantastic because that's happening all week. So we're a third of the way through the year. We're going to do a little recap of the year so far and a little bit of what we can expect for the rest of the year. Who's doing well? What does the Premier League look like? What to expect from the rest of the year? So that'll be a little bit of fun as we're a third of the way through the year. Who can believe that? Feels like we only just kicked off the start of the Premier League in February. Not that low, maybe just a week ago, it feels like. But yeah, that's how it is. So James Wade has taken out night 12 in Dublin. That's his second night win, and he's just looking so solid at the moment, is James Wade. He's scoring. I've said it before, all the pundits are saying it, everyone's saying his scoring was always one area that was never really as solid as everyone else, and his finishing was what saved him. At the moment, he is scoring as well as anyone, and he's got the finishing to go with it still. So when you combine those two aspects, he really is one of the top performers in the world at the moment. So his semi-final versus Gerwyn Price was statistically his best performance ever recorded, and it was just nuts. And he just made it look so easy too. It wasn't an outrageous performance like you see Clayton and Van Gerwen doing at the moment, where you look and go, wow, this is just blowing everyone away. It was just a solid James Wade performance. He was just checking out when he needed to and hitting big scores and just doing it so easily. He's really in the conversation for every tournament he rocks up to at the moment, James Wade. So just going about his job. Peter Wright, Gary Anderson, Joe Cullen and Michael Van Gerwen were all your quarterfinalist losers on the night. Gary looked good. Bully Boy was just too good on his doubles. It would have been 75% to about 18 or 19. Both average 102, but yeah, Bully Boy on the outer ring was far superior, which means Gary's scoring was pretty good. But yeah, just didn't quite get it done. Peter Wright lost to Johnny Clayton. Joe Cullen produced the worst performance of the Premier League so far this year with an average of just 81. He only had 10 scores over a ton in 9 legs. That's my standard sort of stuff. He still doubled at 50%, so yeah, if he doubled how he normally does, around that 30 to 40 is probably Joe Cullen's range, probably 30. Then, yeah, that's looking like a pretty dodgy performance. Michael Van Gerwen had a last leg shootout versus James Wade. He had 2 darts to win the match. This was a bit of a cracking contest, this one. 129 finish in League 2 for Michael Van Gerwen. He went triple 19, double 18, double 18. That is fantastic stuff. That's the sort of finish you want to see people throwing. Wade threw 100, 180, 180 and didn't get a crack at a double in that leg. So that's just phenomenal stuff. Michael Van Gerwen had a 130 finished as well, 680. So he did everything but win that match, which is unfortunate for him, but it is what it is. When you're playing James Wade, you've got to do more than that, obviously. So well done to James Wade to get through that one. Bully Boy and Gerwyn Price were the losing semi-finalists. Michael Smith played well versus Gary. He had to because Gary was looking pretty good besides his doubling. And Michael Smith wasn't keeping up with the scoring. He wasn't far behind, but he just wasn't quite keeping up. He took out 150 and had 75% on his doubles. And yeah, just had to hold on to the coattails of Gary and was able to do that. Had 3 180s in his 102 average, so we got some more points on the board. His first win in quite a while. He got to 4-1 up against Johnny Clayton, but then the ferret went nuts from there and didn't give Bully Boy a look in. He had one dart at double from there, and that was at 160 finish. So after going 4-1 up, he only had one more dart at a double for the match, and yeah, it was on a really big checkout that a lot of the times you're not even going to get a crack at. So he was just too good, was Johnny Clayton there. 104 average and 44% on his doubles, where that was Michael Smith, and it just wasn't good enough. Yeah, as I keep saying, it's just outstanding from Johnny Clayton to win that one. Gerwin Price did enough against Joe Cullen. He wasn't great, though. He only averaged 90, but when your opponent's averaging 81, you're more than likely going to win that one. But he'll take the win, and the less said about that match, the better. He ran into a rampant James Wade. As I said, that's statistically dominant performance. Best of James Wade's career was against Gerwin Price in the semi. And, yeah, imagine trying to beat that. 114 average, 85% on his doubles. Yeah, pegs of 97 in 2 darts, 24 in 1, 80, 140, 40 in 1, 62 in 2. Just crazy good. So that left Johnny Clayton and James Wade to face off in the final. A bit more of your typical James Wade performance, this one. Probably just outscored by Johnny Clayton, but still finished absolutely brilliantly, 54% on his doubles. That consistent level of finishing when it's almost his lowest number. There we go. It's almost his lowest number, that 54%. And when that's your lowest, then you're going to win a lot of matches. And he just does it so easily, so simply. Everything he can do to possibly leave 20, double 20 or double 10. Sometimes he'll leave himself double 12, but it's always tops and 10, and he just nails it all the time. He had pegs of 118 in this one, 81, another 118. So, yeah. Outstanding. Johnny was still good. He had 101 average, 4 180s, 9 140s, and 45% on his doubles. So those sort of statistics will tell you that you win most matches. And it also tells you how good James Wade was on the night and how well James Wade is going in general. Seems like a bit of the James Wade show right this second, but when you perform like that, everyone's going to be ranting and raving about it. Very little counting errors on the night for Johnny Clayton, so he'll be happy with that. And at 5-3 up in the final, just a bit of cake, don't worry. He probably thought he was on his way to a win, and he'll be disappointed not to get it, but it's just what happens. Right, so the ladder from there, you've got Johnny Clayton on 29, Michael Van Gerwen in second place on 25, James Wade in third, equal points 25, Peter Wright on 20 points, Joe Cullen's just sitting outside in fifth position on 15 points, Gerwin Price 6 on 13 points, Michael Smith in seventh on 11 points, and Gary Anderson on 7 points. Still having 5 points in one night, Gary Anderson, so he'll definitely be hoping to up that and get an improved performance for the back half. You could basically write him off. There's, 4 nights left before the finals, so he definitely can still make it. Winning all 4 nights will give him 27 points, which puts him right up there, but don't know. I just don't see much changing from there. Look, Joe Cullen could easily win a night. Peter Wright out first match, and he's equal on points. So I just don't see it happening. Peter Wright and James Wade just keep accumulating. James Wade starting to win nights. Michael Van Gerwen and Johnny Clayton will continue to win games and nights. So, I just don't see anyone changing from here, which means I'm relatively accurate on who I said makes the finals. No, not really. I had Peter Wright not in it and Gary in it, and Gerwin Price in it and James Wade not. So I'm not overly accurate. I was looking good for a while, but not now. Anyway, next week we'll leave the ladder up while we go through next week's matches. Peter Wright versus Gary Anderson. So you got 4th versus 8th. Peter Wright probably wins that one. And the winner plays Johnny Clayton or James Wade. That's a massive top 4 clash. Probably Johnny Clayton, I'd say. Gerwyn Price versus Michael Smith. You got 6th versus 7th, so a bit of a stoush there to see who really stays in touch. And look, Gerwyn Price probably wins that one, and Joe Cullen versus Michael Van Gerwen. Michael Van Gerwen put that in the books as a win for him, and basically then you can write off Joe Cullen. Mathematically, no, but technically, if he doesn't get any points this week and Peter Wright and James Wade do get, mainly just Peter Wright gets some points, you're almost writing it off for Joe Cullen. Look, I will probably go with Michael Van Gerwen for the win for the night. But yeah, who knows? It's hard to pick. It's also hard to pick. You sit there and think Gerwyn Price should be winning nights. Gary Anderson should be winning nights. Michael Smith should have won a night by now for sure. But they just keep not, so you might as well always pick from the top 4. My fantasy team, there was a massive glitch in the fantasy. So it's 15 points for a 9-dart leg. There was no 9-dart legs yet. The app was telling me that James Wade has thrown 5 of them. So I think that is a bit of a stuff up, which hasn't happened all year because I'm sure other players have had 9 darts in one leg, not winning it, but obviously his opponent's thrown a 12-dart leg. And that's it. Bam. Job's done. Bob's your uncle. He's only thrown 9 darts and it's, for some reason, classed it as a 9-darter. And it said he had 5 of them. I think it said Michael Smith had 6, but it didn't do it for anyone else. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I had a huge score, but so did a lot of people. Anyone that had James Wade or Michael Smith as their captain would have scored well over 200 points. All right, and where were we? We'll come back into the Premier League in a minute. The Austrian Darts Open over the weekend, another European Tour event. As I said, it's European Tour, very similar to the Players' Championships. It all accumulates and builds up, and then they have a European Championship, which is technically a major later on in the year. I think I may have turned the page a little bit early. Michael Van Gerwen won it. No surprises there. 8-5 win over Danny Knoppet in the final. He beat Stephen Bunting with a 106 average. No, 106 average was against Dirk van Duivenbode. 6-5 win over James Wade. 6-3 over Cameron Menzies. Cameron Menzies doubled at 18% and definitely could have pushed Michael Van Gerwen a lot harder than 6-3. But that's his second Euro title of the year, Michael Van Gerwen. So look out, he is coming. Danny Knoppet made his way to a final. He beat Nathan Aspinall, who averaged just 81 in the semi-final, so the Asp will be pretty disappointed with that. But, yeah, he'll move on pretty quick. Joe Cullen and Johnny Clayton also lost to Danny Knoppet. And 104 average and 45% against Johnny Clayton was Danny Knoppet, so that was his best performance of the weekend, and that's what you've got to do to beat Johnny Clayton at the moment. There's no walk-ups and easy wins versus Johnny. Nathan Aspinall and Stephen Bunting also both made a semi. Damon Hedder was our lone Australian at this one, and he lost in the second round to Rapid Ricky Evans. He rallied from 4-0 down, but the damage was done, and I think he went down 6-4 in that one. So, but that's all good. No Gary Anderson or Gerwyn Price at this one. The standing wasn't quite there at this tournament. There was a couple of big averages around that 106. I think Matters Razma had 108 in his match, but not too much to report home about there. A lot of 90s, a lot of 80s. There was a couple of lower 80 averages as well. A couple of the local guys. One was in the 70s. Crazy. Makes me yawn podcasting all the time. That's a PDC action wrap. That's it for the weekend in the PDC action. So as I discussed, we're a third of the way through the year over in the darts. Well, we're a third of the way through the year everywhere in the world, but in the darts, we're a third of the way through. We've had 2 majors, not including the Worlds. The Worlds technically counts as 2022, but we basically all say that it's the end of last year because most of it's played then, and it's just, yeah, to me, it's more of a wrap-up of the year, the Worlds, not so much starting the next one. Danny Knoppet and Joe Cullen have won those majors, the Masters and the UK Open. So not really 2 names you would have expected to see raising the trophies, but the Masters and the UK Open they're not really big ones. Everyone's just getting going at the Masters, and the UK Open is such an open That's why it's called the UK Open. It's so open, anything could happen. As I said, we saw Gary Anderson and Michael Van Gerwen, their first match of the tournament was against each other, and that just doesn't happen often with all the seedings and the way they run tournaments and the way a lot of places run tournaments. You're not going to see two names like that in any sport tee off against each other when it's technically round 4 for them, but it's also their first match when they've got another 6 or 7 to go. All right. So what I want to do is have a look at a few different things. We're going to start off with the World Championship finalists and see how they've gone since winning and losing the World Championship of Darts final. Peter Wright, he won the World Championships in early January. No doubt was the best player at that tournament, even if Michael Van Gerwen didn't fall ill, catch COVID and have to withdraw. I think Snakebite would have gotten it done. I tipped him to win it. He performed out of his skin. Once he settled on those gold darts, he was unstoppable. Only Damon Hedder, I think, really challenged him. Michael Smith did for a bit. The game against Gary, the semi was very good. But it was he just looked like he was going to win every match he was in, except the one against Damon Hedder when he went 2-0 down early. If he didn't change his darts, then he probably didn't win that match. Since then, I thought he was going to take over and dominate the world of darts for the next 12 to 18 months. He won the Premier League straight up, was a shock first round exit. I think it was round 2 for him, but his first game in the Masters, he lost to Simon Whitlock, but he used different darts again. So, yeah, I honestly thought he was just going to take over and absolutely dominate. But no, he hasn't really. He's won one Premier League night. He made a final at the International Darts Masters. That was in Germany, I think. The first European Tour event. He lost to Gerwin Price. That was a shootout for world number 1. That was on Feb 27. He won Players' Championship Event 2 on the 6th of Feb. So January and February were pretty good months. The first Premier League night would have been that would have been early Feb as well. So he was looking pretty good straight away. And he made himself to world number 1. But then since then, a bit of a slow 2 months for Snakebite. Yeah, just that one Euro Tour final, one Players' Championship event, and one Premier League night. But he's inside the top 4 of the Premier League. That's all he would care about. And yeah, he'll continue to push on from there. He's going to make not a comeback because he's not that out of form, but he isn't quite at the Peter Wright level. He'll be timing his run perfectly he'll go all right at the World Cup, but it's not the be-all and end-all. He's timing himself at the match play. Bully boy, Michael Smith, after a sensational run at the Worlds, he was definitely the second best player there. You could make an argument that he was the best player. Some of his stats and finishing was next level at that World Championship. That game against both Gerwin Price and Johnny Clayton were next level good. Outstanding matches to play against someone playing that well, and then there was some absolutely dominant performances. I think he had the highest average in round 2, it would have been. That's when the seeded players came into it. He had the highest average there by a long way and stayed well above that ton mark for basically the whole tournament. Premier League, not great. He's made one final. He's the only player to have not won a night. He hasn't won many quarterfinals at all, so he had the final and a couple of other wins, maybe 2 or 3 other wins. Let's just bring that back up and see. So he's on 11 points, so 5 for one night. So he's won 3 other matches out of 11. So not fantastic for his lofty standards, and I honestly thought he would get on a run, especially after he had a quarter final at the Masters. I thought, he's looking all right. He had a final at the UK Open, and I think it may have been the week after that. So he had that final against Danny Knoppet where everyone gave him stick, and then he made the final would have been about night 6 or 7 of the Premier League. And I thought, here we go, he's really on, and I did think he's going to turn it on, especially after the UK Open final. But not much since then. He hasn't done a hell of a lot. A lot of first-round exits at the Players' Championships and European Tours. Hasn't really given a sniff at any of them. He has not made a semi-final at the Players' Championships. And we've had 13 now, so not his lofty standards, but I mean, if you're making a quarterfinal and a final at the major events, the 2 majors that have been played, you're making it that deep and you're not really going to care too much about the floor tournaments or the European Tour. So, yeah. yeah, that's the two World Championship finalists. So now I want to just have a bit of a fun one. The top three matches so far this year. It's not a Big's top three. We're just putting Big's top three on ice for a little bit. But the top three matches that I've watched so far, which I think are the top three matches so far this year. We'll get to the start of it once I wrap up what it means by top three matches. It means top three matches. Number 3, Gary Anderson versus Damon Hedder. I a lot of the times take my Aussie hat off, but sometimes you just can't do that. The final of Players Championship 5. This was a stunning match. If this was played in front of a crowd, it would have gone absolutely bonkers. Damon Hedder averaged 107, Gaz 103. The scoring, the setup play, and the finishing in that match was absolutely outstanding. And they just took it up a level from what was going on all day. And that was Gary Anderson's best day this year. He was absolutely outstanding with 107, 108. I think there was 111 or 112 against Rob Cross at one stage that day. He was fantastic, and Damon Hedder had to absolutely turn it on to win, and he did. He stood up under the pressure that Gary Anderson was throwing and really made a name for himself. Number 2, Keane Barry versus Michael Smith at the UK Open semi-final. Now, this wasn't a close match by any stretch of the imagination. It was 11-6, maybe? 11-6 or 11-4? 11-6, yeah. It was probably more like standout individual performance. You had Michael Smith, he went 6-4 down, and this was like they had breaks at 5 legs. This was the second break. He was 6-4 down, and it felt like they've been playing for 3 minutes. It was that quick, and Keane Barry was looking sensational, averaging well over a ton. From there, Michael Smith just went absolutely bananas. 116 average across the next 7 straight legs he won, and just looked absolutely outstanding, and that's why everyone thought, hang on a minute, Michael Smith is about to turn it on for the rest of the year. He hasn't done so, but that was just absolutely outstanding. And number 1, Michael Van Gerwen versus Johnny Clayton at the Premier League Night 2 semi-final. This was an absolute cracker. There was a brilliant 1-2-9 finish from Michael Van Gerwen. He finished the same way we talked about before with the 19-19, 18-18. Absolutely outstanding. Had a 94 finish in there as well. He was throwing 180s at will, 140s. And by the time he got to 4-1 up, averaging 110, the other outstanding thing that night, he beat Peter Wright 6-0, got the 4-1 up. He was yet to fail at breaking the throw. Sorry, he beat Peter Wright 6-1, and Peter Wright's only leg was breaking throw Michael Van Gerwen. So by the up to his 6-1, 6, that's 7 plus 5. At 12 legs into the night, he had not failed to break the throw of his opponent. So he was playing outstanding and absolutely pressuring his opponent. But that from that stage into the ferret, and he just went nuts from there. Big finishes, a couple of 110s, and he's just the finger point right at the middle of the camera. That is absolutely outstanding the way Johnny does that when he hits a big finish. He won the next 5 legs, and under a stupid amount of pressure from Michael Van Gerwen. Michael Van Gerwen didn't fall in a hole, nothing like that. It was just absolutely outstanding from Johnny Clayton. All right. Top 5 disappointments so far over in England in the PDC, over in Europe, we'll say, because it's all been played in Europe so far, not just England. So number 5 is all the younger brigade. So we talked about these guys at the start of the year. You saw Bradley Brooks play outstanding at the Grand Slam of darts. You saw Keane Barry's the exception. His UK Open was pretty good, but he was good at the Worlds. Callum Ridge was good at the Worlds. Willie Borland at the Worlds. You saw all these players, and we all thought, oh, wow, what is going to happen here? This is going to be fantastic. We're going to see some young talent really come through and knock down the door. But you just haven't seen that. They haven't been able to produce it. And you've got to do it on the floor. And if you're not in that top 16, top 24, top 32, you're not making the big tournaments. You're definitely not making the Premier League. You didn't make the Masters. You've got to struggle. You've really got to work your backside off to play at the match play, the World Series. You've got to be the top 2 in your country to play at the World Cup. So you're not getting a lot of exposure. The way to do it is to start playing well on the floor and boost your numbers right up there. And we just haven't seen that. No, none of those kids that we spoke about have won any Players' Championship events and have really struggled to make finals, and a lot of them struggling to get out of the first round. So disappointing there. Probably Keane Barry because of his UK Open performance, with the next best is Cullen, who's probably made a few top 16s at the Players' Championship events, but not much from there. Number 4, probably Michael Smith, I've put down as a disappointment. I mean, as much as, yes, he did make those two, has done pretty well at the majors, I've expected him to do more at basically every tournament. He looked, at the Worlds, he looked a class above. He really did. He looked, only Peter Wright looked like he was going to stop him. You could tell that Gerwyn Price was going to struggle with him. James Wade was always going to struggle with him in the semi-final. He looked $1 million, and to come through that group the way he did, his quarter of the draw, and then to take out James Wade to make the final. And he played well in the final. It was only Peter Wright turning it on, as Peter Wright does, for 15 or so minutes, was what took the title off him. So a bit of a disappointment that he hasn't been able to burst out and absolutely take a stranglehold of the Premier League, get himself into the top 4, and win quite a few Euro Tours and Pro Tour events. It's a bit of a surprise and a bit of a disappointment. Number 3, Gabriel Clemens. I rate Gabriel Clemens so much. I think he is an absolutely outstanding player with a brilliant throw, and he's probably not so much on the actual order of merit, but in form, he's relinquished definitely the number 1 German spot to Martin Schindler. He's definitely playing the best of the Germans at the moment. But I think I really rate Gabriel Clemens, and I'm just a bit disappointed that he hasn't performed the way he can. Number 2 is Nathan Aspinall due to his injury. Nathan Aspinall is a top 8 player. He is Premier League material for sure. There's no way he shouldn't be in the Premier League, but he's just sliding down the rankings and he's not able to perform for a while with his hand. He definitely came through and had a win at the Players' Championship events. I think that was the last one. Number 13. That was just disappointing there. I would love to see him fully fit and playing well. And number 1 is definitely Gerwyn Price, similar situation, the injury. After the way he performed in Northern Ireland, I can't remember exactly the city it was in, but that Premier League night was fantastic. At the start of the year before it came along, he had that Euro Tour win, made a final of Players' Championship events, was keeping Peter Wright at bay with the relinquishing the world number 1 spot, just continued to play well. But since that injury, he's definitely dropped off and not performing to his best, and we want to see him at his best, because him at his best is next level good, and you saw what he could do at, I think it was night 4 or 5 for the Premier League. You want that. You want those 9 darters flying in, those ridiculous averages all day long. That's what Gerwyn Price can do. The top 5 performers of the year. Now, this is definitely up to debate, and look, I'll give an honourable mention to James Wade because he's just been outstanding, but there's a few that you have to include in there. So I've gone number 5, Danny Knoppet. He won the UK Open, so he's got to be up there. That's a good win. He didn't perform as well as he'd like to at that tournament. Well, as much as I say that, he won it, so of course he doesn't care about performing any better, but his numbers didn't really stack up to some of the outstanding performances you'll see, but he won it. And he made a Euro Tour final, and I think he's made one or two semi-finals on the Players' Championship events. So number 5 is Danny Knoppet. Number 4, have I got my Aussie hat on again, Damon Hedder. He's made 3 semi-finals of Players' Championship events, 2 finals. He's won one of them. It was a quarter-final at the UK Open, and we brought up his stats the other week about how well he's doing on the Pro Tour. So he's leading the order of merit, leading the ton plus checkouts, equal on average with Gary Anderson, and second on the 180 tally. So a lot of stats that he is winning and doing well on, and that deep run at the UK Open puts him into 4th place, Damon Hedder. As I said, you probably could include James Wade in there. Some people would shoot me for saying that Damon Hedder's outperformed James Wade this year, but that's why it's called an opinion, because I get to say it. Number 3, Joe Cullen. I'm pretty hard on Joe Cullen a lot of the time, but I don't think he's performed the way he can at the Premier League. That's probably where it stems from. He's just I didn't think he would need to adjust to it, but it looks like he needs to adjust to the Premier League. A lot of those mid-80s, 86 and 81 on the weekend. But he has won one night I think he made a final of another. He won the Masters, and he went on a 17-match win streak on the Pro Tours, winning 2 of those. So for a little patch there, he was unbeatable, Joe Cullen. So he's gone to number 3 on the list of top performers this year. Johnny Clayton, he's top of the Premier League. He's won 3 nights. He's at the pointy end of everything you can point a stick at. So basically every tournament, every Euro Tour, every Players' Championship event, the majors, he was there. He hasn't won one yet, which is a surprise, but he did make a semi-final at the Masters, and I think it was a quarterfinal or last 16 loss to Damon Heta. Must have been a last 16 because Damon Heta lost in the quarterfinals. So if he lost in the quarterfinals, it was against Johnny Clayton. Johnny Clayton made a semi-final, but he didn't. So, yeah, Johnny Clayton is number 2. And number 1 is Michael van Gerwen. He hasn't won a major, but he has won 3 Premier League nights. He's second on the championship ladder there. He's won 2 European Tour events. He's won 2 Players' Championship events. So he's winning and winning and winning, and he's not just in that many. He's in the semi-finals. He's in finals a lot and starting to perform the way we know he can. So some of the 2 events we've had, the Euro Tour is back buzzing. The Masters and the UK Open were buzzing. They were up and about. It was fantastic to watch. The Premier League, massive. Great having everyone back in-house, and it just goes absolutely bonkers. We've had 2 idiots whistling, and that's it. The rest of the crowds have been absolutely sensational, and they make the place rock, and they just bring that atmosphere that we all love about darts. And the players at the moment are bringing it a lot of the time. The only thing I can say is the Premier League format. I'm still not sold on it. I don't know what to think. I've seen a lot of people say this format is brilliant. I've heard a lot of people say this format's shit, bring back the old one. And I've heard a lot of people say that the old format was no good either. I disagree. I'm a fan of the old format. That's when I fell in love with darts, was first watching the Premier League. I turned it on one night and the Premier League was on. First darts I watched was Simon Whitlock at the Worlds, and then I didn't watch for a couple of weeks, turned it on one morning, and the Premier League was on and it was going bananas. And I just feel like that no winner each night builds the tension, builds the excitement, and it really is exciting. Now, Gerwyn Price did an interview not long ago and talked about how fair is the draw. So 9 of the 15 weeks so far, we're not including. So it'd be 9 of 14. We won't count the 2 weeks where it's one where they do the seeded style setup, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and all that. Now he is been on the same side 9 of 14 times. We haven't had 14, but that's what it'll end with. He's been on the same side of the draw as Michael van Gerwen. He mentioned that's not quite fair, and you've got to get that right. Look, he's technically right, but at the same time, if you're going to win, you're going to win. And doesn't matter if you're on the same side as Van Gerwen. If you're not on the same side as Van Gerwen, you're probably on the same side as Johnny Clayton or Peter Wright, or James Wade at the moment. So there's no real difference in that in my mind. That's why the Premier League is brilliant, because it's the best 8 players in the world. You're always going to have huge classic encounters, but I'm just not hugely sold on it. And at the end of the day, does that extra tournament mean anything? Because you're now looking at Gary Anderson is definitely not going to make the playoffs. You can almost put a line through Gerwyn Price, Joe Cullen, and Michael Smith. Yes, Gerwyn Price and Joe Cullen still a chance. Michael Smith, I don't think so. So does every match matter? Which is what they said. The only thing that matters is the 10K. I guess that's a lot of money. And if Gary Anderson wins 4 more, he gets another 40,000 euro, whatever the pound I think it is, whatever England use. That's a yearly wage here in Australia. So that's probably above the average yearly wage. So he's won a year's money in 4 nights' work. So there technically is still something to play for, but probably not. Gary doesn't really care too much. Michael Smith's just up there to play darts. So I think, and there was always, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the previous format, the higher you finished on the ladder, the more money you got anyway. So are we now in the same situation that we would have been anyway? Yes, I believe so. But it is what it is, and it's exciting to watch a winner be crowned at the end of the night, but not as exciting as building up because the finals night is going to look the same as every other finals night. It's not going to look like any night that we have now. All right. The rest of the year, the top 5 that I've just mentioned, the top 5 performers, so Knoppet, Header, Cullen, Clayton, MVG, they're only going to get better. All those top 5 disappointments that I spoke about, so Gerwin Price and Nathan Aspinall will overcome those injuries. Gabrielle Clemens and Michael Smith will turn it on. And if the young kids are more interested in the big events are coming up and they're going to turn it on. Snakebite will not go this long without having his name win something, anything, multiple things. He's probably going to put his name on the match play title again and go from there. Where, as I've said before, Gerwin Price wants to win it. Johnny Clayton wants to win it. Damon Header's looking to make a name for himself, and there's a lot of others that are ready to burst. There is massive, massive times coming in darts. As I said, there was the Euro Tour on the weekend, had a lot of lull averages. You may see 1 or 2 more weeks of that, but that's it. After that, it's done, and it's on for young and old as we build towards World Series events coming up, match play, World Cups coming up, and then you're heading in towards the Grand Slam, the Grand Prix, and the Worlds at the end of the year. Whew, fantastic stuff. Doesn't it get you excited? Gordon Mathers and Simon Whitlock are well on track for the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals? Qualifying for the World Finals. They should get there, no worries. So the top 32 automatically qualify. Simon Whitlock and Damon Header are well and truly within that. The next 32 is made up of the rest of the field's order of merit from the Pro Tour. So anyone in the top 30 of the Pro Tour order of merit, if their name's already in the top 32 list that's qualified, their name's taken off. And Gordon Mathers is sitting at about 22 at the moment, so well and truly in that category. And then all he needs to do there is win 1 or 2 matches at the Worlds, and he should easily take home his tour card, not to bring it home to Australia because we want him staying over there. So everything's looking good for Simon Whitlock and Gordon Mathers. All right, a bit closer to home, all the organisations are up and about, up and running, playing darts consistently. Brilliant, not having many interruptions. Western Australia are about to come out of the Jurassic Age and take their masks off to play darts, which is fantastic because that's not an easy thing to do, play darts with a mask on. Not that they wear them properly, they wear them here. But they're taking them off and we're not having any interruptions. There's plenty planned for the end of the year where everyone's going to be in the same room. So you've got the Australian Open down in Echuca where everyone's coming together. There'll be people coming from all over the world to compete in that. The DPA Win My Owl satellite tour, I'm pretty sure that's going to be played in a certain location, not online. Oceanic Masters, the qualifiers for the World Series, all going to be played in-house. None of this online stuff. You can almost put that to bed once the DPA events are over. I think, I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that because I will not be surprised if they roam with this style next year, which will be a shame. The DPA this is, not to everyone else, because we don't really want that as much as it's good for the pocket of the players. Let's take these off for a bit because they are starting to hurt my ears. It's good for the pocket of the Western Australian players and some of the others, but playing it in-house is not the way to go. Right, so where were we? Yep, we're all going in-house, which is fantastic. That's going to be a great finish to the year. All right, the best match of the year over here in Australia, Jamie Rundle versus Raymond Smith, DPA Event 6 in Queensland. It would have been a quarter-final. He's the only player all year to push Ray right to the edge, and I think he may have even had a dart at a double, or it was one of those scenarios where he was waiting and Raymond Smith took it out in 12 darts or something. And yeah, that was a fantastic match, and I'm like praying to the darting lords that Jamie Rundle gets back in there and continues to consistently play, and it wasn't just a one-off that last weekend of darts. Top 5 disappointments in the world of Australian darts. The DPA not marketing their product as much as they possibly could. Some of the numbers you're seeing in Morwell in Victoria was a prime example of that. You had 7 people playing on a Friday night of darts, and then you move straight to the Easter Classic, which popped up 100 times on my feed. And that's the best example. It doesn't matter what I follow, who I like, what I like. People like me that I'm not playing in any of those events, and I have no intention of playing at any of those events. I knew exactly when and saw more advertisement for the Easter Classic in Geelong than I did for the DPA events. And the DPA is supposed to be our big, massive pro tour of darts, and there's just not that advertisement around to get more people in it. Reece Mathewson not competing much. I was so looking forward, so excited to watch him play all year when he played the DPA events 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if I've seen him since, and that's just a shame. Number 3, disappointment for the year. At DPA event 1, that was just an absolute dud. Absolute stinker. Don't know how they didn't see it coming. Being in venue for 15 hours after a long day of work. No, thank you. The Wi-Fi issues. You cannot bank on Australian Wi-Fi. I struggle so much. I live 20 minutes from the main major city of Brisbane, and I struggle. It's an absolute nightmare. You cannot get anything done. You can't do it properly without good Wi-Fi. If you want to, especially if you want to play online darts, and without online Wi-Fi working properly, it doesn't work. And it didn't work, and it was an absolute disaster. And that's where we come back to the in-house events. It would be so good if we could play it online all the time to make sure that everyone in WA doesn't have to fork out thousands of dollars in accommodation and flights and days off work. So it could be good if we could play it online, even if it's just them. But we can't because Australian Wi-Fi is crap. Number 2, Mitchell Clegg not playing at the first, I think it was first 8 or 9 events. He didn't play it. And then when he came into events 10, 11, 12, it would have been, or something like that. So hang on, February, March, April, 7, 8, 9 he turned up to. So he didn't play the first 6, I think it was. He came to 7, 8, 9, and New South Wales event stats went from here to here. You can't even see it. It was phenomenal, and he's an absolutely phenomenal talent. And yeah, it'd be disappointing that he wasn't there at the start of the year, but it's great to have him back. And the number 1 disappointment for the year, Australian broadcasters, cough, cough, Fox Sports. Now, they're doing a lot wrong at the moment, and they're doing a little bit right, but not much. And the way that all Australian broadcasters are snubbing the darts and not even paying attention to what's happening with the darts is outrageous. Once again, I'm not picking on bowls. I'm not picking on Ultimate Frisbee. I've seen Australian lacrosse on there as well. Darts is a better product than all of those put together. And we had this discussion before about put money into it, you get more players competing for more money, push the standard up, push the interest up, push the fans up, you push the money up. It's just a cycle, simple as that, and it's an investment that would not go to waste, guarantee it. Hopefully they're holding back simply due to the online factor involved. You can't play online Ultimate Frisbee, you can't play online bowls, so that's the only advantage they have. So if we eradicate the online and get to in-venue, which is unfortunate for the WA guys, but that's what needs to happen for Fox Sports to come on board and go, right, we're going to cover that. Or anyone. It could be ABC, it could be KO standalone, but that would be just as good anyway. But that's my disappointment for the year, my top 5 disappointments. Top 5 performers. I'm going to go number 5. Now, this is very much up for debate. It's hard to pick top 5 when we're not playing each other properly. So we're just going to go with what I can see. Top 5, number 5, Robbie King. He's done phenomenally well at the Queensland events. I think he and Raymond Smith both pulled out of event 1. But yeah, he's been in most of the finals, a lot of semi-finals, continual running battle with Raymond Smith and Jeremy Fagg. But Robbie King up there. Number 4, Danny Porter. So he's won 5 events, I think, and been in every South Australian final since event 2, which is when they went back to the in-house ones. So Danny Porter, number 4. Number 3, Bailey Marsh. He is leading WA's rankings, and when he turns it on, and he will not lose over there in WA. And he's qualified to go over as and represent Australia, not represent Australia, but just go and play at the World Youth Masters for the PDC. So fantastic. It'll be great to watch him play over there. Number 2, Brandon Weaning. He has been phenomenal. Not only there, but he also had a great run at the Easter Classic. But at the DPA events, he's been fantastic and just continues to look like he's going to win everything and break dartboards when he throws. And he had 3 darts. Honestly, I fear for those dartboards. They look like they're going to break. And the Melton Dart Club looks like it'll fall down when he throws. Number 1, Raymond Smith. It's hard to go past him. He is winning and winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. That's all he's doing at the moment, so it's hard to say anything else other than that. He looks phenomenal. He could be unstoppable at any level of darts, I think. But he's just being unstoppable in Queensland at the moment. So the DPA events, I think it's probably 10, 11, 12 must be coming up. And you can't really preview too much simply because it's the same old thing that happens. It's better to have a review and see what happened there. One thing we will say is if there's drastic changes to who's competing, once I get those list of names, I'll jump on and do a quick preview. I do expect the standard to increase drastically. I think Victoria will not see those low numbers again. Your only issue now is the top. You only have to have 50% participation rate to qualify for the Oceanic Masters. And for the Satellite Tour, you only have to have 50% competition rate. I can't remember what it is. Completion, whatever you want to say. Also being in the top 16 in your state. A lot of people would have already made those qualifications. Will they continue to play? I don't know. I will see on the weekend how many turn up, but I think you're going to see a huge increase in the standard again as more players are getting more into the season. So Australian darts finishes off basically in October at any high level last year. And then there's not much happening until February. So it's a sort of a work its way into the year. Right, where were we? Yep, you're going to see an uptake in the standards. I think a lot of the names will do the same sort of thing, which means New South Wales, you have no idea which one of those 6 or 7 guys will win. Western Australia, the same. Victoria's 4 dudes. South Australia is really 2 dudes with Modra and Porter. Queensland's absolutely open, except for Ray Smith probably wins. Robbie King's probably there. Jeremy Fagg's also right up there. But there are a lot of names that can compete. I do expect Sam Ballinger, after winning the Easter Classic, to compete a lot, be a lot more in it than he was in previous events. You can catch all that DPA action on Dartstream Live 2, it's called now. So get around that. What we want to do now is have a look at the rankings. So it's top 16. I haven't got the top 16 in the shot there. We'll just have a look at the top few as we get closer to probably the next 3 events is going to be the important one. So at the top of Victoria's rankings, you got Brandon Weaning and Mel coming on 140 points each. Sorry, that's gone too quick for me. Brady Clinch is way back with Ash Britt on 88 and 84. That's just 3rd and 4th place. And then Barry Leddington on 52, Tommy Hyland 44. And then it's all pretty even from there. Expect Stuart Coburn and probably Justin Thompson to make a move. New South Wales, you've got Tafe and Hannell up the top there. Tafey out on front on 108. Pearson, 76, who hasn't made many finals. So I think he made 1 final, but he's going well from there. Mitch Clegg on 64 points. That's pretty tight in New South Wales. Down to 8th is on 64 points. South Australia, you've got Danny Porter doubling basically Adam Leake in 2nd. Danny Porter's on 164, Adam Leake's on 88. Modra, Hallett, Letts, Edwards. They're basically your mainstays. So it's very tight once you get to 4th place from there. Queensland, Robbie King's out in front, 96 ahead of Raymond Smith, 88. Their numbers are lower because they missed an event. James Bailey, 3rd. Jeremy Fagg, Dave Littleboy, Kai Smith, Raymond O'Donnell, Matt Mullen, Chris Krabby, Brendan McCausland, D. Wayne Turner. And it's very tight. Bailey Marsh is out in front in WA on 100 points. Justin Miles, 84. David Platt's made his move, 672. Tim Pusey is in 4th. Burke, Lloyd, Pickett, Kamito. So it's pretty tight over there in Western Australia. hopefully you get a seeded spot. That's it there. So we can just let them run through while we finish off. We can all have another look because I did have it running a bit fast. As next week we'll put up, next month when the DPA is back there, we'll put up right through to number 16 because that's the important numbers. But yeah, so there's a lot of tight tussles in a couple of states. Some of the states definitely have an outright. So you can see New South Wales there. First to eighth, there's only 40 points between them, whereas South Australia, there's 80 points between first and second, as you'll see there. But yeah, enjoy the DPA action. We'll get rid of it now. The DPA action is going to be big. It's going to be good, hopefully. As I said, I'll have a look at the names once that list is out. I think I'll be able to see that by Thursday, which will be exciting. And then we can have a bit of a look if it's too different to what we're used to. There's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. You can see every week the outlook's changing. You'll be able to find us on YouTube now, but I'll promote that a bit better at a later date. Stay tuned. The website will be up and running soon. There's a lot of work going in, but I want it to be right before we do too much else. Until then, hopefully your darts are flying out the ham well and you're hitting those triple 20s and loving the darts as well. So, yeah, enjoy it. It'll be a big review show next week, and I'll see you then.